Good afternoon, Murfreesboro City Schools preschool parents. Again, I'm Kelly Blanchard. I'm the preschool social worker. In this month's parenting video, we're going to talk about consistency with regard to discipline and parenting. So if you remember last month's video, we talked about the importance of establishing a bedtime routine. This video is going to talk about a lot of the same things. So if you'll notice a theme, basically consistency matters. So what does consistency and discipline look like in practice? Basically, it means that parents are going to be consistent in their routine, in how they discipline their child, and how they interact emotionally with their child, and in what behaviors are expected and what behaviors are not allowed in the home. So I hear from a lot of preschool parents, and sometimes they tell me that their children behave really well at school. They're great. And then they get home and there's some behavioral issues in the home that happen. And through the years, I've worked with parents and told them school is super, super consistent. Children are expected to behave a certain way. They come in at the same time every day. They hang their bag in the same place every day. They sit in the same seat every day. Carpet time starts at the same time every day. And they know what the behavior expectations are. And they know what the consequences are if they don't follow those expectations. School's a really structured environment, probably the most structured environment that your preschooler is going to encounter in their life. Home can be consistent, but we all know life happens. So there's a lot of changes that happen in homes too. So maybe you have extended family members who are moving in or out. Maybe you're moving physically to a different location. Maybe there's been job changes or relationship changes. So it's important to kind of know that you can be consistent and need to be consistent regardless of what changes are happening. I'm going to give you some tips on really fostering consistency in parenting. And I do want you guys to remember, we are all human. Parenting is difficult. Parenting is beautiful, but parenting can be chaotic and it can be exhausting. So it's really important to kind of remind yourself that consistency matters most in the times when it's the most difficult. So if we're working outside of the home and we have a rough day at work, or we're exhausted, or we're just not feeling our best, those are the times when consistency can slip more easily. So the best way to kind of think about behavior change in the home is really focusing on one thing at a time. So if I have a preschooler who has difficulty with tantrum behaviors, but they're also having difficulty with their household chores or responsibilities, and then there's also some issues with interactions between siblings, I'm going to want to pick one thing to focus on. If you go to your preschooler and you tell them you're going to start making 4 or 5 changes in the home, that's going to be more difficult to get the behavior results that you're truly wanting. So if those tantrum behaviors are the most disruptive to your household, you're going to want to start there. So I'm always going to recommend that you pick one thing to truly focus on. That's important. It's also important for you to be positive with yourself. So when I'm thinking about my preschooler, what is the ultimate goal for that child? So it's not just that we're going to stop some behaviors or change some behaviors in the home. It's that we have a child who grows up to be a responsible member of society, a responsible adult, a responsible middle schooler, a responsible high schooler. So that's the ultimate goal. So sometimes when you're feeling frustrated or you're feeling overwhelmed, it really helps to remind yourself, I am in charge here. I am capable of doing this. I am the parent. And just having that gentle conversation with yourself and reminding yourself long-term goal. Okay? And just always remember, we are all human and we all make mistakes. The important thing is if we make a mistake or we know we get off track, is getting back on track as quickly as we can. It's also really important to communicate with your child. So if you know that you have a tough week up ahead, there's going to be a lot of disruptions, routine's going to be totally thrown off, just sitting and having an age-appropriate conversation with your preschooler is tremendously helpful. So saying something like, Mom's sister is going to come over one night this week and she's going to babysit you. But the behavior expectation with Aunt so-and-so is the same as it is with Mom. Just really communicating that. So there are going to be some changes, but this is still what your parent expects of you. If they're in the know, They can plan. When things are more predictable and changes are more predictable, they feel more secure. So there's less anxiety, there's less kind of unknown. So you just want to make sure you're communicating with your child when changes are going to take place. The other important thing is to be emotionally regulated yourself. So like I mentioned earlier, parenting can be frustrating and it can be tiring. And in those instances, it's easy to let things slide. So maybe my preschooler had a tantrum behavior on Monday. Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm really tired and the tantrum behaviors I'm going to let slide. That is not going to foster that behavior change that you're wanting. So again, I'm going to encourage you in those moments of fatigue or those moments that you're just not feeling your best. Just remember that consistency really is huge, especially in those moments. So when you are feeling frustrated, I talked about making sure you're emotionally regulated before you do any sort of discipline. In those moments, if you're feeling like I'm really frustrated, it's going to be easier to react out of frustration than it is to really have some meaningful conversation. What I would encourage you to do is take a minute. So maybe you need to remove yourself from the situation for 5-10 minutes, get yourself together, remind yourself, I'm in charge, I'm the parent, I can do this. And when you feel like you're a little bit more emotionally in control, then you can go back and have that conversation and do your discipline there. So the results of that are twofold. Both your child is able to see you emotionally regulated and handling a situation how you want them to be able to handle a situation. But then they're also seeing that you still are consistent and you still mean it. And that is still the expectation, no matter how hard they push and no matter how frustrated they make you. Also, pushback is going to be huge here. So when we're really thinking about creating behavior change, it's going to take a minute. So it's not something that's going to happen tomorrow. It's not something that is going to happen in the next couple of weeks even. We're going to have to be consistent over a period of time to really truly foster behavior change. Okay, so again, it's going to be important really for your kiddos to see you emotionally controlled and then also that you're still consistent. Pushback, pushback, pushback. When you create new rules or when you enforce new rules in the home, it is natural for your preschooler to give you pushback. So that might look like sass. It might look like tantrums. It might look like just general, ooh, I don't like this change. That is what your preschooler is communicating to you through that pushback. Stick with it. I promise you, if you are consistent and you communicate and you remind yourself of the big picture and you keep yourself emotionally regulated, those 4 things will really bring about true behavior change. Again, Kelly Blanchard, preschool social worker. I'm always available to you should you want to discuss anything more. If you want to reach out to me about specific behaviors that you have going on in your home, I'm happy to talk with you about it. You can always reach me here at Northfield Elementary, 615-904-1015. I hope you guys have a great day.